Welcome back, YouTubers, to my channel of an everyday life of an Aspie. If you're new to my channel, I welcome you all. I'm all about creating mental health awareness and sharing my life story with Aspergers Syndrome, OCD, and the like. In today's video, I thought to bring out some more autism and employment series, as if you haven't seen them already. I'll link them either in the description or on the playlistings above my head somewhere, so that you guys can follow through to what I'm about to follow as a continuation of these series. However, which obviously it has been brought to my attention that one of them was basically the benefits of hiring someone who is autistic, which obviously I wanted to add a few bit more pieces in this, which will be a continuation on that, which is SAP, hiring autistics in the employment sector, as well as the changes in the employment. So just bear in mind before I begin this, also as a disclaimer, some of this information that I may be reading out or have researched in the very beginning ain't New Zealand based, so due to the lack of research and understanding, obviously, or the lack of information that is in regards to some parts of the statistics versus everything else that I'm sharing with you all today, ain't New Zealand based. So some of it will be, you know, as I said to you so many times before, either UK, USA based, or some other country. So I humbly apologise in advance for this, and hopefully we can just gain a better understanding and knowledge, and obviously a continuation of just a open mindset of, you know, what's going down regardless of all this. So as we know, there has been some new innovations, ideas and models that has been brought into practice into some diversity programs around for employers that can use for hiring people that are autistic, as I said to you before, you know, or people that are on the spectrum, either or. That doesn't focus on obviously race or gender, basically, but on cognitive ability. There's been a huge amount of interest or growing interest in the world of neurodiversity, which neurodiversity is just a change of thinking patterns of the different mindsets. It's not always about basically the disability, as I said. It's all about the ability of us knowing in a term of just how to go about our everyday things, regardless what it may be. And what I mean in saying this and hiring the people with this is also with just having a higher range of people on that autism spectrum disorder that comes into play. Because as we know, basically at this point of time, you know, many people make that assumption that people on the spectrum, regardless be it on the high end or the low end, that we're all the same, but we're not. Obviously it's all about inclusion and changing the mindsets, obviously also about the way people think and how they act towards people that are different, including the ones that are on the spectrum. However, that's how I look at it as well. Just a brief recap before I continue on. You may be forgetting or wanting to know more about what I'm referring to of this term ASD, or Autism Spectrum Disorder. As I said before, this is an umbrella term that's been used for different purposes and different reasonings from clinical experts for several cognitive impairments that includes Aspergers Syndrome, autism, and the like. Okay, in the USA alone, United States Centers for Disease Control estimates that 1 in 68 children have been diagnosed with autism spectrum disorders. This is estimated that 1 in 100, however, basically will have these commercially traits. As we know that many people on the autism spectrum disorder, of their characteristics, traits, or just the characteristics in general, however, will have social difficulties as one of the main benchmarks of autism spectrum disorders. This will then therefore make it hard for people on the spectrum, basically, to make it through to, you know, getting into that stage of hiring process. Basically, roughly 60% of the people with ASD or autism spectrum disorder have an average or above average intelligence level, yet 85% of those are unemployed, however, which is a sad fact. Gary P. Pisano from the Harvard Business School quotes that the ASD population do things differently, but the question is, can you in turn that into virtue? That's part of the idea or thinking of neurodiversity of what I've just clearly mentioned in the introduction here. Obviously that we do better when we mix people who think differently, obviously, and is wired differently. So a bit of, you know, difference can make a difference in the workforce. That's why, as I mentioned before, the benefits about hiring people with autism and basically in saying this, it does benefit for all, not just for us autistics. However, However, there is a program that has been introduced which is called Autism at Work. This has been currently implemented in countries of Argentina, Canada, Czech Republic, Australia, Brazil, Canada, Germany, Ireland, India, and obviously the USA. This program was released in May 2013, and obviously, in my opinion, also this hasn't been released in New Zealand. Obviously, even though they're trying to introduce it at the moment, but there's still a bit of lack of understanding, research, and funding through this to do so. So it's a bit about finding the right support network here and abroad. It was aimed at recruiting and hiring adults on the autism spectrum. This has been such a success and is working towards expanding it of having 1% of the total workforce. Approximately to Jose Velasco, she thinks approximately 650 people fall on the spectrum. Basically, in the year of 2020, however, this will be the end result of maybe the amount of percentage of people that will fall on the spectrum. The main aims for this program is, or was, to tackle some of the biggest hurdles people with autism face in their everyday life, and some of it will be in their search of the biggest hurdle for them is in search for employment. It's not the lack of intelligence, however, for people like intelligence skills and technical expertise, it's that many lack the social skills and communication abilities just to do so towards people that are important through obviously screening and hiring people and going through to the interviewing process once people with autism gets through this. That's why I believe we need to work together, not against each other, and actually basically hope to find ways to match fits, meeting different needs regardless of all levels, regardless of on the autism spectrum disorder or many other people that maybe are on a different level of part of their, conditions. I'm not going to say disabilities. I feel as if I say that, I'll get a smack on the knuckles. That's why, as I said before, in New Zealand we're actually starting to have the program in place, but not quite. But there's still a lot to go and a lot to work on and to be done. Employers need to understand the different people's abilities, obviously, and needs to meet them, as I said before. Again, as a gentle reminder, not all autistics are, brainy through their computer skills or their mathematician skills. All autistics is different in their range of skills and abilities, so it's a matter of knowing, what will match for your fit job when you do hire us autistics, and also maybe focusing on our strengths as well as the weaknesses, and maybe just understand that some of the weaknesses can be difficult for us, especially in those characteristics as I clearly mentioned earlier. So partnering for success, obviously, to make this successful and go a lot further, however, SAP partners with a Danish firm called AspieAnswers, if I'm pronouncing it right, and they help hire high-functioning autistic adults and actually prepare them in the real world for their future choices of careers, whatever it may be. This firm specializes also provides training in social and collaboration skills. Obviously, also in saying this, they do this as well as life skills. These kind of interactions and mundane details of everyday life that neurotypical or neurotypical adults may take for granted in our everyday life, regardless of what it may be, can be extremely difficult for the ones that are on the spectrum. This is an additional 4 to 6 week scenario-based program that focuses on the soft skills, communication, teamwork, working etiquette, email, and disability disclosure. And also, in saying this, I'll be hoping to show you a diagram and explain further what it is, which obviously with that method program, obviously number 1 is that 2 to 3 weeks is in the preparation stage of that program. 2 and 3 obviously refers to, for the first bit, is the sounding and assessment, and then the 2 to 6 weeks period is your workplace readiness. Number 4 is onboarding the people with the autism spectrum, which takes 2 to 4 weeks. And last but not least, number 5 is your support network or team of support, which is obviously an elapsed period of time. Basically, SAP also introduced autism awareness instead of training for its neurotypical forms. Obviously, workplace to help ease and integration, basically, for the employees on the spectrum disorder. Reality is to challenge us all, obviously. That's well-known fact. So this is from across the pond, obviously. Just to read out to you, is in Aussie alone, the current rates of employment has among autistic adults has been reported as low as 42% while introducing this program. Australian studies has found that 46% of individuals on the spectrum were employed in jobs that was considered to be over-educated for the ones. Obviously, the question is we need to ask basically is, or shall I say, in the surveys I've looked at from the Altogether Autism Network site, New Zealand Autistic Employers Surveys, in the status quo, many people said under the category getting a job, basically there has been unclear employer expectations, 2, difficulty with job interviews, 3, no opportunity to demonstrate the skill sets that we have. The everyday challenges, obviously, for most of us is keeping a job and maintaining that job by just making it fulfilled for a lifetime guarantee until we're old and grey and start to retire. So under that category is the lack of awareness and acceptance of autism. 2 is the poor recognition of the support needs that is needed for us. And 3 is the poor social attitudes towards us, as well as just the way of thinking, and that comes into play. That's why neurodiversity needs to take into place of the different pattern of thinking. So what does it take? Obviously, 1, recognise the special talents and skills that we have. 2, work with the people that believes in you. 3, match the skills that is, to our needs. Basically, a question thrown at us is, how do you think organisations could make workplaces more supportive and autism friendly? Maybe asking to some of us. Many of us will agree on the autism spectrum disorder that making people more aware of autism, of what it is, and to make people more accepting of us, and obviously just coming to that point now to be aware that, of it as well. It's all about acceptance and awareness. Being able to be welcoming to us autistic people into the workplace and encourage people to speak up, especially for the ones that are on the spectrum or outside the spectrum. Basically, when we get treated unfairly, because obviously in the Human Rights Act we have the right for learning, education and everything else like anybody else in that Employment Act 1993. And the last but not least, recognise that we will be good employers but just need some extra support on time in the very beginning though. However, we need someone to believe in us and has the risk or be able to take that chance on, basically taking us on board regardless of our specialised needs. The dandelion principle, to many people the dandelion is nothing more than just an annoying weed, right, that we tend to just want to get rid of. Something to be rooted out of our lawns or flower beds or wherever it may be rooted upon. But what a lot of people don't know though is, and within that, if you can imagine us autistics, when cultivated, the dandelion is one of the most valuable and useful plants in nature. In many parts of the world, as we know, basically the dandelion is known for its nutritional, healing and medicinal properties. In this specialist vision, however, I'm hoping to try and illustrate to you all about what they see in the community versus the workplace. What they want to see is the 3 triple A's in the community, which is appreciation, acceptance, and prehension. And in the workplace, however, it is segregation, accommodation, and inclusion. Obviously, in this model through specialist vision, also basically they value respect, clarity, accommodation, accessibility. With these operating models in place, then you need to have, with specialists around, obviously, as your consultant partner, specialist employer, talent recruiter, educator, and trainer to actually work as a team so that everything comes into practice. So, and removing the divider is not the autistic people who needs to change, but the way the labour market is conducted, and also, again, as I said before, the way of people going about their way of thinking. The enemies of change are apprehension, the drive for efficiency through standardization, and misguided risk management practices. Employment of autistic baby may be an imperative one, but not an option. Obviously, basically, in partnership with Altogether Autism, obviously understanding the landscape in New Zealand, adapting to their model. 2 is partnering with an established and well-respected local organisation. 3, including the existing services providers not competing. 4, together they will create thousands of careers in New Zealand for autistic adults. 5, 130 plus responses to the talent survey. Flyers are available at the Altogether Autism stand, obviously. Obviously, there's a book called Neurotype: The Legacy of Autism and the Future of Neurodiversity by Stephen Silverman, which I'm going to link all that information in the description from what I'm reading here. He's quoted as, "We are living at a very exciting time, a time of great hope for autistic people and their families. Society is on the brink of a major transformation in its understanding of autism and the other developmental disabilities, and everyone on the leading edge of this transformation is playing this crucial role at this long-awaited turning point in history." This was a speech that was given by Steve Silverman, who was the author of Neurotypes, that believed in 2016 when he mentioned that basically there is a world of change coming into place. Well, this quickly ends a real short brief overview of my next part of my thing of SAP, hiring autistics in the workforce. Give me the like, thumbs up, support, comment below. Feel free to share your experiences of what we can do better to make a world of difference in this change of environment of hopefully hiring us autistics. Maybe share your stories of maybe any successes that you've had of what I've shared with you all, if you've heard of this program, especially for the ones that maybe on my channel that are autistic, and share them out so that we can actually get to know each other and actually create this a bit more. Feel free to follow me on my social media sites listed below. Feel free to share these videos around to family and friends if you want to. I appreciate it. Feel free to subscribe, because as I said, hopefully Monday to Friday is my schedule for uploading. If not, it will be only 3 days a week, which will be Monday, Wednesday, Friday, time depending. Obviously, as I said before, depending on what I'm hoping to bring out to you all regardless. Feel free to, if you did decide and you want to keep up to date with all I'm doing, to actually turn on the notification bell, so that then therefore once I do post an update or do a new video, you know what I'm up to. Because at the moment, as I said before, there's going to be a few changes if you haven't seen on my latest update on my AspieAnswers, because obviously, as you know, I've been working hard on this auto animation video series of my book, and hopefully taking into consideration that it will be of value and use to you guys, be it on the autism spectrum and beyond. So without further ado, guys, basically, thanks for watching. Do what you love what you do. Until next time, Aspie signing out, and I'll see you all again soon. Ciao.